finding product ideas that may work, that's easy. The next step of going down through the data processing and whatnot to see if it actually works or has a chance of working, that takes probably a little more effort, but that becomes almost second nature after doing it several times.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders, a show where we interview people committed to making their next million through passive income using real estate, brokering, e-commerce, and beyond. If you're a passionate business builder yourself, visit voltageb2b.com to get in touch now. All right, folks, so we're back here. I'm with Timo. Welcome to the call, Timo. It's great to have you here today.
Hey, it's good to be here as well.
All right, great. So since you are a client of Voltage, I always like to start off this component of the call versus others who come on the podcast by asking you, were you coerced to be here? Were you threatened? Did you come here of your own free will to share your story today?
Oh, and Neil's twisted my rubber arm, so...
No! Checks in the mail, bro. Checks in the mail.
Yeah, right. No, I'm here of my own free will. Yes.
Excellent. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your story. You're an amazing guy, and it's been a wonderful experience getting to know you more over the last year. But I still don't even know you enough, and I'm sure the listeners here don't know you at all. So let's talk a little bit about you. Tell me a little bit more of your story, the one you want to share. And by story, I don't mean like the last 5 minutes of your life. Give me a little bit more into who you are.
All right. I'm Canadian. I live in Canada and work out of California for the last 15, 20 years. I'm in the travel industry. COVID shut down much of the travel industry, as we know. And after some time off, I looked at starting or restarting something I dabbled in a few years ago and ran across Voltage and Neil and Reed and, ASIN 360 course and have jumped in with both feet to the best of my ability. So that's a short nutshell as to how I found you guys and why I'm doing what I am.
Was this your first online venture, or had you tried other online businesses or other things?
I've tried a few things over the years, off and on. Some of it was just out of curiosity. This is perhaps the first time I've really jumped in and done it serious. And I use that as a relative term because, there's things that I just don't know yet. And, for me to say it's serious, I've got so much to learn still. So, but I'm excited to be here and do what I'm doing. So, yeah.
Was any of those things that you tried in the past relative to e-com, or were you trying something else online?
I've tried a bit of both, e-com and some other stuff online, yeah.
Okay. What's some of the bigger takeaways now that you've gone a little deeper? You're actually selling things now, right? In your brand. What's a little bit of the learning experiences that you've had that maybe you didn't recognize before that you could share with us?
Oh, where to start? Having just dabbled a little bit, doing it with Voltage and with ASIN 360 and following the modules that are provided is definitely more in depth than I perhaps expected at first. And the amount of time I've spent, and perhaps I think I've reinvented the wheel 3 times where I should have perhaps just followed, the program to a certain extent. What have I guess learning what I am capable of and what I should let others just do for me versus trying to do it myself. Ask me more. Keep this conversation going.
I mean, you obviously, did you have manager experience in overseeing a business previously in your ventures, or would you say you're more corporate, more entrepreneur in your dealings to this point?
Historically, my work, I work for a large corporation. I'm, managerial level perhaps in what I do, but in terms of entrepreneurship and running my own business, this is all brand new to me.
So you've been learning how to be a CEO, as we like to refer to it, right? You've been learning how to run an operation without being the person who does everything in the operation, which is a big learning curve. Yeah. And definitely one of the things I know about our experience together is you've been learning how to be more task-oriented for specific type of tasks, letting others realize, you don't have to push all the buttons to make it work, right? Can you give us an example of some of the things most recently you've done that have kind of helped echo that in your learning curve? Something that you most recently just stumbled on or did that kind of changed your next steps?
Oh, sure. Just, something simple as building a website. Why bother teaching myself how to do that when there are literally, thousands of people available who are experts at it and can do it. So just building a a website, a simple website for one of my products, and having that, then displayed to the public. So, or available to the public. That's one simple thing. I mean, never mind, photo editing, or one that I need to get into is bookkeeping, perhaps. I've done my own basic bookkeeping, and that is something I'm not good at and will gladly let someone else do for me.
Yeah, it's a big one. So the accounting and chart of accounts, obviously in the business itself, is important to understand. What we call operational independence, right, is kind of the key phrase, which has to do with you operating the business without operating every role, setting the business up so that someone else could take it on later, because we don't want you in a job with these kind of businesses. And the person who wants to buy the business eventually from you doesn't want a job either. And that's one of the lessons we're trying to instill in everybody as we go along here, that you don't have to be in every detail, which is cool. And that's a big learning lesson for you. I know you mentioned your son at one point. Is he involved in the business, or is he kind of watching from the outside?
He is actually my photo taker. He is
okay.
So he's not involved in the business other than just helping me take photos. That's what he does. He's a filmer, editor, photo guy, and so he's helping out with taking photos and whatnot. I've got a very talented daughter as well in graphic arts and stuff, and she's helped me with some of my just branding and coming up with logos and whatnot as well.
So that's amazing. You've got the business involved with the family now.
Yeah, and they've had to put up with me talking about e-commerce and logos and brands and domain names and, oh, hey, what do you guys think of this product? What do you guys think of this one or this version of it and whatnot? And they've been very patient and gracious as well. So, yeah, it's been fun.
And they're learning, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Some members of the family have watched with interest and perhaps want to try it as well. And, getting the first checks in the mail, so to speak, after sale of the product was gratifying, particularly for my wife.
Yeah.
Actually see some money coming in rather than going out all the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a major milestone. Let's break that down for just a second, because I know that's one of the major gotchas between people understanding, well, what am I going to sell, right? Which is always a big question. If you've never done this, what do I sell? What's in demand? What do people want? What can I actually give them? The time involved, obviously, in getting it to the point where the sales are happening and understanding that process. And of course, actually making the first sales and seeing that hard work actually be returned. How did that work for you? How did you feel about it? Tell me yourself exactly how that worked for you.
As far as finding what to sell, I just, again, followed the training. I went through, started with product ideas that interested me or had in our house or we've used or, see the neighbors using it or whatever. And it really doesn't matter what is sold as long as it meets the criteria in the research section or phase of choosing a product to then looking for, the sourcing and whatnot. And this is, you talk about using other people sourcing. I tried sourcing on my own because I wanted to learn how to do it. Quickly realized I didn't really want to talk to people overseas, several different companies, when there are people who are experts at sourcing products. And, using the contacts that you guys provided have had great success sourcing products overseas. Then to taking it to the next level in terms of testing the product and then launching it. And this is what I really like about what I've learned is it's data based. It's not based on, ooh, I like this product or it's a cool product or I like this color of a product or whatever. It's all based on data. So, ordering a small batch of 20 or 30, 50, whatever, and testing it to see if the market actually likes it. So I've tested 3 completely different products in 3 completely different categories. Launched one and just launched a second, and the third one I don't know. The test is perhaps inconclusive whether I need to market it differently or package it differently or something. It's not as good as the first 2, and that's what I like about what I've learned so far is the fact that it's data based. It's not based on a whim or a wish or a hope.
Yeah.
That it might work.
No Hail Mary passes on when you're spending money, right? We don't guess.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't guess on dollars. Yeah. And it is important that you say that because it is a process of working by the numbers. It literally just gets down to the data point. And you don't care if you sell fuzzy bunny slippers to grandma. You don't have to be passionate about that. You have to understand the person who is passionate about it. And you have had a couple of those revelations, I know, in a recent call we had with the group, where you mentioned a change you made in that. You changed the brand, you changed some images, you changed something. If I remember correctly, you tweaked an optimization on your listing and things went. What happened? Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's actually been something that's been continual. You launch something with what you believe is, good pictures or a good listing or a good, catchphrase or whatever, product information. And as you get feedback, you realize, that maybe something is not identified as quite as well as it could be. So you go back and redo it, whether it's in pictures or, product title or in the description or whatever, or the product itself could be improved or the packaging, anything. I mean, you go back and retweak little bits. And I've done that several times after the first test, realized that I needed to identify certain features of the product better. And when I launched, I did that. And then as I've had feedback from customers, I then retweak as well. So it's a continual learning process and tweaking. And you mentioned the group calls, but I have actually very much appreciated the group calls and the collaborative nature that comes from those calls and the groups, the chat groups and whatnot, in the help that's provided, support and encouragement.
Good. Well, I hope so, because we're putting a lot of energy into making sure
it's great.
people.
Good.
Yeah, and I think that's a big component of of success for the people I've seen, and hopefully you feel the same way too. Is that obviously we give the time intensive to understand, as you mentioned, acting imperfectly is a big component of that testing product, and then getting in and really learning how to optimize and change the right things means the product necessarily isn't a failure. I mean, how many times have we seen people say, on YouTube or other places, I launched a product and it was a total failure and this whole thing sucks and Amazon sucks and it all sucks, right? When in actuality, there's adjustments to those products that should be made because no product is ever perfectly launched, right?
Oh, yeah. And I think I realize, I say it's database, but, there's a certain amount of right place, right time, or just because we do things doesn't mean it's going to work every time. And I get that, but, so far the database process has worked, don't marry your product. Just, yeah, I didn't think I really understood what that meant until you actually invest a certain amount of time and effort into researching, getting samples, a test order, a small order that you're going to test, and then realize, it may not work, and there's a few months or more that may have been invested in it, and you can't marry it if the data doesn't show that.
Yeah, and it's an important part of that market
to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an important part of that market, as you said, to determine your differentiation between the competitors in the marketplace. And I analogize it like a key code lock, that you're literally kind of just turning the tumblers. As you turn each tumbler, it eventually is going to unlock. And so many people think, I just walk up there and I'm going to put the key in. Well, what if I don't give you a key? Now you have to become the pick. And many people don't realize you've got to pick the tumblers on that lock. And once you do, things will change very quickly. And how fast you do that, or how fast you're willing to accept the changes and make the changes, will be how fast that product takes off. Partly, I think, and this, it's about the process of product selection. We aren't guessing, right? You didn't guess on these products. As you said, they were data driven, and you had data that said customers want this product. They want it near this price point. And so I know where I'm going to go in and innovate the differences in this. And how do you think that played a role in the success you've had so far?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I ended up with any of the products I thought I would have at the beginning. You have an idea of some things that you might want to sell or you think are good products, and I ended up with something completely different. You go down these, as you do the research process, you go down these rabbit holes. You start looking at one type of product, and then you go online to see if there's people buying it, and then you end up 8 steps down in a completely different niche or category, and go, ooh, this one might actually work. And one of the tasks we get early on in the program is to start writing down just product ideas. That's what they call the list of 500. And at first it seems difficult. How are you going to come up with 500 product ideas? But after doing it a little while, it's like you can't stop. Your brain doesn't shut off in terms of trying to wondering if that's a good product or not. And then you go and, hit the laptop or the computer and look at the data and go, actually, that one might work, and you add it to the list. So finding product ideas that may work, that's easy. And that's the next step of going down through the data processing and whatnot to see if it actually works or has a chance of working. That takes probably a little more effort. But that becomes almost second nature after doing it several times, I think, as well.
So without getting too far into the details of this question, you may not want to answer it, but how has it been successfully for you? Has it been revenue and profit wise? Are you happy with what you've gotten? And can you give us any insights into where that's been since you've started?
Oh, sure. I mean, I've had moments where I'm going, what the heck am I doing this for? To, wow, this is far beyond what I expected. So, like I mentioned, I have three different products that I'm looking at right now. It's three different, completely different categories. The one I launched with a large order, a relative large order to what I had to starting. But I always considered that first large order as the next step in the test of the product and how it's going to run and whatnot. And, I launched in the fourth quarter, which is the best sales quarter for obvious reasons. And even though the product I have is, it's in the broad category of sports and outdoor equipment and perhaps a year-round seller, which, again, that's part of the learning process. I don't know yet because I haven't done a full year of sales yet. So, but the fourth quarter, in terms of what my expectations were, looking back at it, break it down into three different parts. And one is just, the launch phase of like, wow, man, I don't know if it's going to work. It's not, people aren't looking, they're not getting their eyeballs on the listing, but then you start the advertising and slowly start picking up then to the third section of, okay, this is actually working. And then the second section of, wow, this is actually working, to the third section of, holy crap, I'm going to run out of product before I can get more. And because how do I slow sales down? So, I increase the price and shut the advertising.
Wait. How do you slow sales down? That sounds like the opposite.
Yeah. And I mentioned this to you as well. I mentioned it, to the family a couple of times, like, wow, like I'm going to run out of product. And my son, who's very sarcastic and dry humor, looked at me and said, hey, Dad, sounds like you're suffering from success. And I had to laugh because that's basically, what it seemed like.
From success. Yeah. It's amazing.
So I ended up, running out of product before I could get more product, even though I had raised the price 25%, shut off all advertising, and the sales just continued. So yeah, that part was very, very exciting. And I'd already started in order process to replenish and then added, if you want to call it, an emergency additional order to get shipped over by air, but it hadn't arrived in time for the holiday season. And but I'm looking forward to now running it in January and
which your first quarter
advertising.
Like. Yeah,
exactly, looking what the first quarter looks like.
Yeah,
and fine tuning all the stuff that I've done. Because I mean, you mentioned this in some of your group calls that we've had, something along the lines of, when you launch something imperfectly, something perfect can come out of it, or to that effect. And I definitely launched imperfectly, but I launched and it's working. And now's, the time, the first quarter, to fine tune that process and take what I've learned and build on it, make it better. That way, when the fourth quarter happens again, it's just
fantastic.
Looking forward.
What does that product mean to your business? Is that a $50,000-$100,000 product next year as it continues to sell? What do you forecast now as you look forward for your business? What do you see?
Well, I think looking at sales in the 2 months that I had the product, if I take that into next year, that will definitely be, a 6-figure sales product.
Excellent. Just one version of it.
Yeah.
So now the process and the repeatable process. What do you really anticipate your goal for next year is going to be now you know where you are? I won't hold you to it, but I'm just curious. What you think?
I was thinking about, let's put it this way. I was telling, I would have launch product, 20 to 30 a day. It doesn't sound like much, but then you kind of go, wow, actually I can improve on that next year, and then add another 8 to 10 products. You kind of do the math from that in, sort of November, December next year, or October in the fourth quarter, having 8 to 10 products, each selling a few hundred a month. Yeah, that does change the optics of what one's financial picture can look like.
Yeah,
and that's,
no doubt.
And that's still just the start of what's possible.
And most importantly, those products are profitable. Since you went by the numbers, there's profit in your products.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of profit. Again, I break down the into three parts: the launch of the first product, the first third. Yeah, I'm looking at no profit because the advertising cost and launch process and whatnot. And then the third or the second third going, okay, there's some profit. And then the third, I'm going, oh, holy crap. Okay. You average it out even for a launch product and starting out cost and whatnot, I'm well into a profit. And then looking forward, going from here, just tweaks, making it better. But yeah, the profits.
Ramping it up. Scale. Sure. Thank you for telling me that. So as we kind of wrap this up here, what if someone's listening to this call and maybe they're you and they're listening to this and they're wondering, about what we're doing and what's going on, what would you say to you if you were listening to this right now and wondering, is Timo legit? Is this a legitimate? Is e-com legitimate? Is Amazon FBA legitimate? What would you tell yourself?
I should have started sooner. Probably that's the one. Start sooner. Like I should have taken this opportunity and done something like this much sooner instead of waiting till now. In terms of do something every day. There are times when it feels like you're spinning your wheels when you're waiting for a supplier to find something, or you're waiting for some product to get to you, or you're waiting for something, because it's not always go because of lag time with overseas and whatnot. But always do something every day, even if you don't feel like it. Every day, doing a little bit, you actually end up accomplishing a lot over a period of a few months. So, and I think that was a quote from you as well. Do something every day.
Do something every day. Yeah, it doesn't always feel like it's progress, but it's actually just stepping stones. And I refer to it as getting something done every day as a stepping stone of moving 3 feet forward. So you can see where you're going down the path. It's like we want to run to the top of the Himalayan mountains, but you got to remember you need oxygen, you need food, you need to know where you're going, and you don't necessarily always get there on your own, which is why you hire guides. So you don't die halfway up the mountain. Thank you for coming on. I'm honored, and I appreciate your faith in us, and I'm super excited about your success. Just your language and your person is different since the first time we talked, and your confidence is up, and you have a plan. I mean, you just told me what your plan is. 8 to 10 products in the next year. Continue the process you're going, things with organic. Your product and brand is going to mature in the system. We know that's going to occur. So now it's just a matter of continuing the process and, interviewing you again in a year and talking about your 7-figure business, because it's just a matter of time now. And I'm super excited to have you on. Yeah, we'll be there. I'm going to be there to watch it.
All right. Thank you very much, Neil.
Thanks for your time, Timo. Appreciate you coming on. If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.